Hello and welcome to the Student Council Podcast, an educational advice show made for students and by students, where everyone is qualified to talk about their own experiences. I am Carter Dvorak, and today I am really excited to be joined by the University of Michigan Student Body President, Noah Zimmerman. How are you, Noah? Thank you so much for coming on today. I am so excited to talk to you.
I'm doing really well. I'm very excited to talk to you as well. It is a true honor to be here and on a podcast.
Yeah, it was so much fun. It's an honor to be talking with you, and I feel like you've already kind of had a lot of great speaking engagements. Have really been cool to hear everything you've had to say. So I'm excited to hear more of that. First of all, I'm curious, what have been your favorite 5 minutes of the past week?
Yeah, so super simple, but I don't get to do a lot of social stuff as president. It's just, class plus that. So I saw one of my friends for the first time in a long time, and that was a nice little catch up for, a nice little 5 minutes.
Very cool. It's always fun. I like, bumping into people at U of M. It's something that's always neat to see and catch up.
Happens often.
It really does. Yeah, are you like an in-state? Where'd you come from before going to U of M?
I'm from New York. I'm from Long Island, so about an hour outside New York City.
Oh, wow.
So I didn't have a ton of people from my high school come, 9 people in my class. Like, I think there's 15 of us total. Didn't really know people outside the high school. So most of my friends, most of the people I know are just people I've met here. And, it's such a big school, so you get to meet a lot of people.
You really do. That's fun. Yeah, I had more people with because I'm in-state, so I came from 5 kids from my high school came, and I've had a lot of kids prior generations have come. So it's been fun to see them, people who I haven't seen in 3-4 years. But yeah. I am really curious, just kind of before we get into everything student body wise, I just want to hear what has your college experience been? You're a senior now. You've had probably a weird college experience, all things coronavirus and whatnot. But what has that been for you? What are you kind of studying? Where do you think you'll be going in a year from now after graduation? So
yeah, you're definitely right. It has been a very strange experience. COVID kind of cut off my freshman year about halfway, a little bit more than halfway. Initially was not sure what I was studying. It was kind of like a path to figure out what that was going to be. Now figured it out, doing a double major, political science and history, minor in writing, a very traditional student government focused individual. But yeah, student government has sort of always been a part of my college experience. Research has always been a part of my college experience. And of course, friends and the whole social fun time. UMich is sort of never where I thought I'd end up, especially in high school, if you ask me that. But I've loved every second. I can't picture myself anywhere else. There have, of course, been times where there's the struggles with anxiety, the struggles with stress, imposter syndrome. But that's if you're phrasing it out into a week, it's a Monday out of the 7 days. So, Michigan's great. And there's so many avenues of support. There's so many avenues of engagement. And that's what I really love about this school. And so obviously I love it. I'm student body president. So, after graduation though, still unsure, looking for jobs right now. That's sort of the short term. And then long term, it's possible to go to law school. That's the plan right now, but things can always change. Looking a year or 2 out from graduation.
Wow. That is really cool. I like what you said about it's a Monday out of the week. That's a really good way of phrasing it that I'd not heard before, but I really like that because I think you're right. It gets to me too, all the anxiety, the transition, everything. But it is it's kind of that this will pass or this is only a small piece of this whole experience.
Yeah. It's a when you're first coming into school, it's a huge transition. I know I was not prepared at all. Freshman year hit me really hard. And then even now, there are just some times where I'm just not feeling it or just feeling a little overwhelmed or feeling that maybe I'm being left out of my friend group. But it's hard to reconcile with the fact that everyone has these feelings and everyone has these emotions, and you have to sort of take a step back, look backwards, take the outward view and say yeah, but most days I have a really great day. And most days I'm having an awesome time with my friends and having great conversations and doing well in my classes. So just trying to focus on the positives instead of shifting out away and trying to build yourself out of that hole.
Yeah, absolutely. Law school, do you think that would be continuing through U of M, or would that be at a different school?
I mean, if I got into U of M, it's a fantastic law program, so that's definitely a consideration. I might want to be a little closer to home or not spend 7 years in one place. It's just, looking at where I get into, looking at what I'm sort of doing after graduation, where I am, where I want to be. That's a big consideration when applying for law school, is where are you and what's the job market like coming out of that law school? So it's possible Michigan, might look in the Northeast somewhere, be a little bit closer to home, but just kind of figuring that out as it goes along.
Totally. Yeah. And another big thing, this is how I first found out about you. You spoke at our convocation as freshmen. You are the student body president. So congratulations on that, first of all.
Thank you.
I'm really curious, what was that process like? I was high school president, sort of. We kind of had a more just in a group of 4 of us leading the class. But was that a big thing in your kind of high school career? And then how does that process even look like to be student body president of a student body like U of M? And what is that like? What does your day look like?
Yeah, those are 2 certainly loaded questions. Thank you for the congratulations, by the way. It's been a time and a half since March. But yeah, I think getting to where I am now was a long, long process. And it wasn't something that I was sure I really wanted to do. I don't think anyone is really sure they want to do it. And if you do, then maybe this is not the right position for you, because it's a little daunting, and I think you have to know exactly why you're doing it. In high school, I was involved in student government, but high school student government is just so vastly different than college. What we did in high school was plan homecoming and prom. What we do in college is try to advocate for meaningful change to the administration. We have a $1.3 million budget. We have I have a staff of about, I want to say 60 to 80 individuals. Plus we have a 45-member legislature and a 9-member judiciary. It's a completely different world. I initially started at Michigan student government with Central Student Government. That's our main body. It represents all 19 schools and colleges. Each school and college also has an individual student government. But we have a first-year internship program, and I interned for my president freshman year. His name was Ben Gerstein. Great guy, great president, great mentor. I still keep in touch with him. And that's really what got me involved. Sophomore year, I sort of took a little bit of time off, took some time to explore all the different options that Michigan had. I joined the Michigan Daily, which is our newspaper. I joined some other clubs, some research-oriented clubs, but also some fun stuff too. I joined the Michigan Club running team, the club climbing. It was a great experience, but I kind of missed student government. And so going into junior year, our elections are in March. So you start that March before the next academic year. So you serve from April to March. And I decided to run for our legislature, which is called the Assembly, representing the College of LSA, which is the college that I'm in. I really enjoyed my time on the Assembly. I think I got a lot out of it. I learned a lot about how student government works, but there was something missing for me. I realized that I was a little frustrated with my position and realized that I wasn't getting the things done that I wanted to. There were specific things that I really wanted to get done. And so I talked to some past presidents, some friends, some other members of CSG, and sort of around late November, early December, decided that I was probably going to run for president. Reached out to Jackie, who was a friend of mine. We weren't super close, but we had conversations in the past about sort of the state of campus and the environment and how student government should be how we think student government should be focused on direct to student programming and events. And for someone who wasn't really involved in student government on campus, I was very impressed with her. She's also just an insanely impressive human being. So decided to run together, and the rest is history. So that's kind of how I got here. In terms of a day in the life, that is, again, I'll try to keep, I know that was long-winded, so I'll try to keep this together. Day usually starts pretty early, 5:45, 6. Yeah. I like to work out. I like a nice relaxing breakfast. So it's sort of giving myself the time to give myself the day. I'll usually head here. I'm in the CSG office right now. Check emails, take care of any urgent matters that I didn't get to the night before. In the mornings, I'll either have some meetings from 8 to 10. If I don't, I'll be doing some student government work. And then go to class. I have class every day at 10. So I am a normal student. I'm taking 16 credits. So I do have to do that. And usually after class, it's going back to the office, trying to do a couple hours of work, taking meetings midday. If I have classes midday, I do not recommend this. Any students listening, do not follow my example. I tried to take classes that I knew would be recorded. And so I watched the recordings on 2 times speed later on at night. Go to class. Do not follow my example. But yeah, I'll be doing CSG work pretty much all day because I need to hit when people are in business hours. And then late afternoon, early evening, go back home, late lunch, try to unwind a little bit, and then back to the office, coordinating everything for the next day, finishing up any last work that I have for CSG, really trying to plan back home for dinner, usually do some homework and research at home, try to relax a little bit while I eat or make dinner, watching a show. Like it's really important to just sort of take the burden off of yourself. I'll read, like getting away from everything for a moment, at least once a day. And then usually if I don't have meetings at night, I usually do have meetings at night though. I'll just try to hang out with some of my housemates or friends and do some work doing that. And then after any meetings or while I'm hanging out, just finishing up homework, finishing up CSG work, try to get to sleep by like 1:30. And then of course, like things might come up throughout the day. So no day really looks the same. And no week looks the same. So texting my cabinet, texting my senior staff, who's myself, my vice president, my chief of staff, and just trying to get everything done. So it's a lot, but it's trying to give as much detail as possible about what the day kind of looks like.
Wow. Wow. That is not, I don't know what I expected. I don't think I expected, I think I still came in from my like high school president days where I'm like, yeah, you kind of do it, but like it's chill. That is incredible. Like,
no, it's a lot of people don't realize coming into, even like I didn't realize coming into the role. I thought it would be like, maybe like 20, 30 hours a week. It's easily like 40 to 60 hours a week on like a average week, maybe a little less on a light week, but sometimes a little more on a heavier week. Yeah.
Wow. Yeah. I mean, that really plunges you into like, you have to have good time management skills. I feel like at that point, right? Like it's a sink or
Absolutely.
swim.
And it's all about having a good team too. Like I have a
Yeah.
really, really, really good team behind me. Like my vice president, as I said, Jackie's an amazing human being. I have a great chief of staff who helps run the team. Our cabinet is fantastic. That's sort of our like team heads. We have a great just set of people on our team. Everyone works really well together. Everyone's really good at communicating. And that's really essential. That is sort of like the foundation. I would not be able to do any of the work if I did not have the good people behind me, because I can't do a lot of the event planning or program planning. I can help guide and I can help set sort of the course for where we want to go. But most of my time is doing meetings. Most of my time is trying to make sure that everything's going right with other people and making sure that we know what's going on and coordinating everything. So it's really essential to have that team behind you. And I think that's in any sort of leadership role, is to be able to communicate, delegate, and time management.
Yeah. Wow. Do you pick like everybody in your cabinet, or is that something in like do you have a lot of control over that?
Yeah. So we can actually pretty much make what our cabinet, like what we want it to look like. There's a few required positions. So our treasurer is required, as they should be.
Yeah.
And then a student general counsel is also required. Those are the only two required cabinet positions. The student general counsel is basically like the chief legal advisor, like an attorney general like figure for student government. They work with the Office of General Counsel a lot. We are a nonprofit. We're a 501c3, so we have to make sure that we don't do any partisan activities or seats or like legislation. If we do political activities, it has to be education only and nonpartisan education. So making sure that we're abiding by our 501c3 policies, making sure that we're abiding by our governing documents, our constitution, and compiled code. And then from there, it's really what we want it to look like. We decided that we were going to do more of a team-based model. Some people have different thoughts, and each administration changes, and it's whatever sort of works for the president and vice president. Even some presidencies look different between the sort of power dynamics between the president and vice president. I consider Jackie like my full partner. I run everything by her. We talk all day, every day. She's like my best friend. And so it's really nice having her by my side. Some administrations are not like that. Okay. Like not everyone is going to be best friends working with people as long as they work well together. We set up our cabinet the way we thought we would work best. Our chief of staff sort of is the liaison between ourselves and the rest of the cabinet. She makes sure that the things that are coming to us are sort of in final form for approval, and then everything rolls out effectively. And then the rest of our cabinet team is sort of the team lead. So we have a programming team, which sort of coordinates all the events and programs that we do. We have a comms team, which student outreach, student engagement, exactly what it sounds like. We have a coalition engagement team, which does like student org outreach, especially with identity-based orgs. We have a student organization committee, which houses our student organization funding and consulting for those groups. And then we also have our treasurer, who does some of the other stuff, and government relations officer. They're sort of in the miscellaneous category with like not running a team, but yeah, that's sort of what we wanted it to look like. It's been working great so far. I think we've been pretty effective in what we've wanted to do. But year after year, it changes. And we appoint the people, they go through a nominations process through our legislature, just like Senate advising consent. And yeah, that's sort of how we get people onto the team.
I'm curious for maybe anybody who's listening who's interested, like, what do you think that process, like, where do you think somebody who's interested in student government at U of M, or just kind of like, where do you think that they should start?
So I always, if you're a first year student, especially at U of M, I always advise our first year internship program. It's some administrations have taken it as like, oh, we're going to give you like the grunt work. We're not doing that. I didn't do that. It's really just seeing what the person you're paired up with is doing, getting the lay of the land of the university, of student government, usually doing a project or two throughout the year, but also just getting a great mentor. And so if student government isn't going to be your thing, like I have two interns, they're fantastic. Shout out to Bella and Zoe. But like if they're not interested in student government, I still want to be a guide for them to do what they want on campus. And so that's where I always tell people to start if you're a first year undergrad or grad. Outside of that, I really think getting involved in the legislature is a super good way to learn about what we do and just what student government is. We also have some positions on the executive team that I think are really just a nice intro place to start. Some of our commissions, some of our programming teams, you're not getting as like thrown in as you would be if you were a policy advisor or a cabinet member. So I always say that's a good place to start. And if you're on a different campus than Michigan, just try to reach out and talk to people and say like, where did you start? Like anyone's always welcome to just reach out to me and talk to me, and I'm always more than happy to talk to people. And if people ask me where to start, like I know I would happily walk through. I'm good friends with all the other Big Ten student body presidents, and so I know they would always like sit down, grab coffee, and like talk through stuff. So yeah, I think just reaching out is always a good place to start too. But yeah.
Wait, is there like a Big Ten student body president like group chat?
Yeah, we do have a group chat. We call ourselves the Big Ten Baddies because we're the baddest ones around. But yeah, so there's Association of Big Ten Students, which is a group of all the Big Ten student governments, and then within that, we just made an informal like text group chat. We like group FaceTime sometimes. We just sort of talk about whatever. We can complain sometimes because we gotta let loose.
Yeah.
And then yeah, it's a great group. They're all like fantastic people. They're all like super dedicated, super just you can't find a better group.
Yeah, well, shout out to the Big Ten baddies then. That's really cool.
Yeah, absolutely.
Where do you think you got a lot of, like, where did you pull the leadership experience for this, right? Like, where was some of that, student government in high school, but like, where did you pull a lot of the leadership experience to be doing this kind of job?
Yeah, it's really watching other people who were either in the job or in similar roles. I was really lucky to do that first year internship because Ben was just and still is just a super good mentor and sort of guide for me. I saw in him a president that like I could be or I could want to be like. He let his team speak completely open with him, like, and that should be what it is. But at the time where things need to be decided, and if people still disagree with him after he's made a decision, they still went along with the decision that he made. And, once it was time, that was it. And so that was a super good sort of example for me. Our student general counsel was also the president of SA student government last year, and he was always sort of a guiding figure, and having him on the team and in an advisory role is super helpful. And it's still learning as I'm going. Like as much as I can say, like I know exactly what I'm doing, I don't. And it's just sort of trying to figure out what's the best path forward. And we make mistakes all the time. We made a decent mistake the other day where we just completely like bungled a program that we wanted to do. And it's because we just had a lack of communication and we didn't really know where or who was supposed to be doing this. And it's just figuring it out and rolling with the punches and trying to like it's no one's fault that happened. We just have to make sure it doesn't happen again. And that's sort of the thing that I try to take with me is if something happens, just learn from it and try to make sure that people are accountable for themselves. And I try to keep myself accountable too. So if I make a mistake, I will try to admit that. And if people come to me and say like, hey, I think you're wrong, I will say like, please, let's talk about this. Like, and I think that's the best thing that anyone who's trying to be in a leadership position can do is just talk through, realize your mistakes, learn from your mistakes, and try to look to people who you think are examples. And so that's how I sort of have been trying to be. And of course, it's, I'm a big West Wing fan, so you got to like lean into the Jed Bartlett of everything. So I don't know. I don't know if you've seen The West Wing at all, but if you haven't, great show. You should watch it.
I've got to watch West Wing. I know
Yes.
I have to watch West Wing. Took AP Gov last year, and our AP Gov teacher, of course, loved West Wing. One of my friends in the class binged the entire series during the class. I think, what episodes we watched one episode in class. It was the Supreme Court Justice like nomination one where they that was a really good one. And then I've just seen so many clips from the show, and I'm like, this is just so good. So like, I need to watch it.
It's so good. Yeah. Highly recommend. My favorite show.
Yeah. No, because Sorkin's like, we watched Trial of Chicago 7 in class too, and I was like, just such good writing and like such a good production.
I love Aaron Sorkin's just such a good writer. It's just, he just builds up the emotions so much. It's incredible.
Yeah, I keep seeing this clip everywhere. This scene where they like don't realize the time change and like where they're driving, I think they're trying to catch a flight and they accidentally go through an area where there's a time change.
Yes.
I see this scene all the time and I'm like, this is a masterclass. Like,
it really is. It's just witty and funny and like just super smart, but also like just down to earth too. Like it's just dumb, but it's so like also who would think of it?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll find it. It'll be the next one on my list to like get through. Once I finish Andor, I'll be there. So
good. I have to start watching that. I'm like trying to make my way through the Star Wars universe a little bit.
Yeah. Andor's good. It's like one of the top tier ones.
Okay. I'll take your word for it.
It's a political thriller actually, or I think it's getting there. It's like Imperial Senate. Yeah. Anyways, Beyond all that, I will absolutely add West Wing to the list and actually try and watch it. I want to get into some of the more general questions. I love asking these to everybody on here because the responses vary so much and they're always so insightful. So the first one I've kind of thought of, it's a 2-for-1 question depending on kind of what you have. So the first idea I had is like pass it on, which is essentially if you've received a piece of advice, college, high school, whatever, from somebody that you want to basically continue on the trend of giving that advice to the next people, you can do that. Or if you have that, or if you just want to add to that, just like an ultimate tip for somebody going into college and just kind of this phase of life.
Yeah. I said this at convocation and I'll say it again because I really do believe in it, but take advantage of everything the school has to offer. It's going to be impossible, especially at a place like Michigan because of the size. But if something's offered to you, you should, I'm not going to say always, but almost always say yes. It's just, you get so much out of it and you get so much out of just talking to people and taking advantage of all the experiences. Like we have such a good theater program. Like go to a play. We have an amazing engineering program. Like check out M City, which is on North Campus. It's like a nice like design city of like the future. And we have all the sports and football is great. I love football games, but go to a volleyball game. Like they're super fun. And they're free. Like just try to take advantage of everything. Pick up a daily article and like try to write an op-ed or just pick up a piece of daily like actual paper news. Like I have some of them hanging up in my room that I think are like cool front pages. So I think there's so much out there. It's just if someone asks you to do something, say yes, because it will most likely turn out to be either good or you can learn from it and say like, that was a good experience, but not again.
Yeah, that's a really good piece of advice. It is already, I've experienced that so much at U of M of all the different things going on. My first year writing class is a class called Great Performances. It's like Conflit, like 141. And that means that like every couple of weeks we get to go to a show at Hill. So like I was so excited when I picked that class because it was like a really good way for me to like already get into a lot of the different performances. So we're seeing Ann Arbor Symphony tomorrow. I know we're seeing Little Shop of Horrors in November.
Awesome.
So like that's just such a cool experience of like kind of getting out there, and because it's not like I like the symphony. I don't think I would have gone and seen some of these shows independently, but it's really cool to like go and do that and get to write about it as a class.
Yeah, and what's better than like being forced to do something for a class? Nothing. But nothing. You know what I mean.
It is, and I'm excited too. I know the first game at hockey is this weekend, and I'm excited to go see that. Or I'll miss the first one because of the symphony, which is such a fun sentence to say. But I'll be definitely going to a game at Yost. Definitely trying to go to volleyball, soccer, do all the fun other sports stuff.
That is the one thing I have not done yet. That is top of my list is go to a hockey game. I have yet to go to one. I kind of got a little cut off sophomore year, so but it's on my list. I will be going to a hockey game this year, so if you see me, say hi.
Totally will. Totally will. That would be fun. So I'm curious, another question, like, because I've talked to a lot of people and I started this show before I went to college, but like,
Mhm.
what were your expectations going to college and how is it, basically, how did the reality compare? You had a weird, like, COVID wise, I know that definitely changed a lot.
Yeah, I mean, in general, though, the expectation for me was it's going to be unforgiving. It's professors are going to be these daunting, like rigid figures, and the workload is going to be ridiculous. And that's just not true. Like, professors are awesome. Like, there's a reason they're in education. Like, there's a reason that honestly they're at Michigan because we have a reputation for being so student focused. Like, they want to help students. I had a professor in discussion today who came into class because we're a 120-person lecture and he wants to get to know everyone. And so he went around the room, the entire discussion section, and just talked to everyone and got to know them a little bit. It's like that's the type of professor that's at Michigan, and that's the type of professor that's at most schools. It's just sometimes they're not going to come to class and ask you questions about yourself. You have to go to office hours, talk to them. But beyond that, I think you learn to adapt and handle the workload. Like, yes, it is a lot, but you're not preparing for college apps. You're not preparing for all day classes anymore. So you have time to focus on yourself. You have time to develop yourself like professionally and develop yourself like socially too. Like I also came coming in, thought the expectation for social life, especially at Michigan, was gonna be like frats and tailgates and that kind of thing, which is not for me and but it definitely exists and it's definitely a positive experience for a lot of people. It's just not for me. Like going into college, I didn't drink, I still don't really. And I had horrible social anxiety. So going to a huge party where I did not know anyone did not appeal to me. So I found my group of friends. I will go to like house parties sometimes where I know people. I just have movie nights with friends sometimes. I'm involved in like a pre-professional frat, which gave me a social life and professional network, which is a super good experience. Not the super short answer that you're looking for, but like again, it just goes back to experience everything. So yeah, it's like you will find the place that you fit in on college. Whether that's going to the huge parties, like I have friends who love that. Like my Jackie love is in a sorority and she loves going to the frats and that's for her, but that's not for me. And so I found the place that I fit into, and I think most people do. And if you don't, you might have to try a little harder, but you definitely will.
Yeah, absolutely. It's like I really like that. It is true. Like there's Michigan is big enough that there are I think slices for everybody here,
Yeah,
no matter like what you're interested in. I've definitely experienced that too, and it's really cool. So
yeah,
yeah,
absolutely.
I'm curious if you can think back to your dorm experience. Do you
Yeah.
have a dorm room essential, something people should have in their dorms?
Okay, super short answer, a comfy blanket, like a super comfy blanket. Like doesn't have to be like a comforter, but just a nice like fuzzy blanket that you can wrap around yourself. Yeah,
Yeah,
that's it.
love it. Yep, winter is coming.
Yes.
Absolutely. Kind of going back to earlier college experience as well. I'm curious your take on the best dining hall, and also beyond dining halls, maybe just some of the best like restaurants or bites of food that you had in Ann Arbor.
Yeah, best dining hall, and this is inarguable. You can't even fight with me on this because it's just the fact is South Quad is the best dining hall, and I will
Really?
stand by that forever. I will stand by that. Widest variety, best food. Like I might be a little biased because I lived in South Quad, but no, I'm not because it's better than the rest of them. But yeah, also South Quad has fresh squeezed orange juice, so how can you beat that?
Wait, they do?
Yeah, so not every day, but some days, yeah, they bring it in. So can't beat South Quad.
I live in West and I go to South every day, and I did not know this, but I do now. So I'll be getting
Yeah,
that.
I think it's like, I don't know. They started it when I was a freshman, sort of like a little bit later than now. But they'll do it, hopefully. If they don't, then that's really sad. And I will use my student government abilities to advocate for that. Best bite of food, like sort of in Ann Arbor, best restaurant that I like. Oh, that's tough.
Yeah.
So that's really tough. There's a lot of really good restaurants in Ann Arbor. I think just because of the sort of memories I have with the restaurant, I'll go Jamaican Jerk Pit. It's right across from the MLB. Super good, like great food. I'm a vegetarian, so they have a lot of vegetarian options too. Been there a lot with friends, been there a lot with some really good people. So they're also super nice in there. And you can just talk to them and while you wait for their food, like your food. And I went in there like a couple of weeks ago and they were like, oh yeah, it's gonna be like a 40-minute wait. and I was just talking to them the whole time. So yeah, I like great restaurant. I highly recommend if you haven't been there.
I've not been there. I don't think I've heard of that one yet, but it's going in
Oh,
the list of restaurants. So I'll definitely have
yes,
to
absolutely.
make an excursion maybe this weekend.
Yeah. Honorable mentions would definitely be Baba Dari's, the Mediterranean place on like Packard. It's like Packard and Hill, like kind of near the Ford area. And then also where else is great? Rita Petito's, like good burgers. So, you know.
Yeah, absolutely. I'm curious, this is going all the way back to high school. Do you have a high
Yes.
school memory that you still think about, something that still comes to mind?
There are a couple, but I think the one I most think about is sort of the last time I hung out with my friend group before we all went to college. It was just like, good memories, good times. I don't talk to them as much as I, would like or would thought I would, but I always just think back to that and like, I have a good group. Like I can just call them anytime and they'd pick up and we'd pick up right where we left off. And I think that was just sort of a good send off. It was like 2 days before I left and we were all just hanging out all night.
That's cool. That's really cool. There's something to a nice high school friend you still keep in touch with.
Yeah.
Yeah. I'm building, basically, I have the student council school survival playlist. So usually I update it every episode. And
Okay.
I'm curious, do you have a song to add to this playlist, a song that maybe got you through a period of school or life or anything like that?
Yeah. So I use this song to sort of hype me up before I have to like do any public events. I used like before the debates last year, I used this song to hype me up. Like if I have to do public speaking, I'll like go out there. If I'm like working out, this will be the first song I listen to. And it's the reason for it is super nerdy because I'm a big Mets fan, and this is the song that Jacob deGrom uses to warm up. It's "Simple Man" by Leonard Skinner. It's a great song. Don't get me wrong. I love Leonard Skinner. I'm a big classic rock guy, but that's sort of the reason behind it. It just makes me feel like a cool like MLB pitcher, like walking to the mound and warming up. But yeah, definitely "Simple Man," Leonard Skinner.
Love it. Very cool. The last question. This has been so great to talk to you, and I'm so excited to hear this. What would you tell your freshman self in high school and then your freshman self in college?
Yeah, I think I wouldn't tell myself that different things between freshman me in high school and college. I think high school, I just tell myself, like, you'll grow up. Don't try to rush it. Like, you will grow up. Take the time of being a kid. And freshman me in college, I think it's things will work out. Like, don't be too hard on yourself. Like, so sophomore year, I could have definitely taken this advice. Freshman year too, but I auditioned for mock trial. I did not get in. I applied to Ford. I did not get in. I think those are just really good things for me though, because things have just worked out. I love where I'm at. And if I was in there, I think I would love it too. But it's just things will work out, and try not to be too hard on yourself. Try to take every outcome with a learning experience and a positive mentality.
Yeah.
Which is not always easy. Like you can be upset for a little while, but then like realize, move on, grow.
Absolutely. It's the Ted Lasso be like thinking of like, be upset about it now and then you can kind of be a goldfish and move on.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Yeah, that's really good. I like the "you will grow up." That's I really like that piece of advice.
Yeah, I think just don't try to speed it along. Like enjoy being your age because you'll never be that age again. Like it's something stupid and cheesy, but at the same time, like just enjoy your time being you. You're not here for that long, and yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, Noah, that's kind of the end of a lot of the interview. The last question I have is: do you have anything to plug? Anything at all to share to send the audience to?
I will plug all the CSG stuff because I think it's important that people are connected. If you ever need to reach out to me or any of my team, or just have any ideas, want to get involved, csg.contact@umich.edu. Follow us on Instagram, UM_CSG. Follow us on Twitter, UMCSG, _. Keep engaged. That's what I'll plug.
Absolutely. It's really good pieces of plugs. Well, Noah, thank you so much for coming on. It's been such a joy to talk to you and hear about all your advice and everything.
It has been a pleasure, and I am glad I was able to share, and hopefully some of it's insightful or useful or, if not entertaining. But thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, thank you. If I can bump into you on campus at some point, we can meet up. Maybe I'll see you at a hockey game. That'd be fun.
Yes.
So, yeah. Well, thank you so much, Noah. And thank you, listener, for listening to another episode of the Student Council. I have been Carter Dvorak. That has been Noah Zimmerman. Noah, do you have any other parting words? Anything else you want to say before we head out?
I'll just say enjoy life, stay relaxed, and work hard.
Absolutely. Absolutely. If you want to find a student council, first of all, go to all the CSG stuff find all of that stuff first, but then go to StucoPod on Instagram. You can contact us. Our email is stucopod@gmail.com. Any questions, any guest suggestions, anything you want me to cover. I wish you the best of luck and the best of times in all of your educational endeavors. The Student Council is adjourned.